All right. And already looking at us, we're going. Hang on. There we go. That's proper. Okay. And now for the thing on the thing. The icing on the cake, the whatchamahoosit. Uh, all right. Yeah, you can really tell my head's in the game this morning. I'm definitely all here. Oh, wrong one. Excuse me. Why is that still playing? I hate that. I hate it when it does that. Well, now you gotta listen to a fucking short. This is wrong? What is happening right now? Hang on a second. Okay, that was frankly unusual. Anyway, let's not dwell on it. All right, anyway. That should be right where I want it. So, today, what are we doing? Bum ba da. Hello. What we're doing is more of this. All right. So yesterday I got this worked out. This is the rough sketch of the IUSDF like government symbol. This would like be the equivalent of where you would see the flag patch on a soldier's uniform. This is what you'd see. And I actually want to do a variant of that. Because this is the symbol. This is not the symbol of the armed forces. And it's not the flag. I don't think. Oh, this is going to be on the flag, though. Because this is like the thing, okay? Like, the ideas, the symbology of this nation is that this is the central motif around which other things are based. Get it? Based. Get it? So the thing about the flag is... we're just gonna try some things. I need to look up some flag ratios. I don't need to be tied down to real-life flag ratios, but they can be helpful. Let's see. Ba-bam. Flag size. It's from flagfunfacts.com. Shout out to funflagfacts.com. Alright. So, a fun thing about flags is that, yeah, they have these different ratios, but no one gives a shit. Like, come here. Yes, let's make you bigger so that you can be seen by the lovely people at home. Yeah, the thing about these designs is that all of them can be just, like, shrunken down to be the same size. So whenever you see standardized flag emojis or standardized flags being sold, they're always the same size, even though, like, the American flag is supposed to be really long, and the Swedish flag is a fucking... This is not Swedish flag. None of these are the Swedish. The Swedish flag isn't here. Swiss flag. Flag of Switzerland. This is a goddamn square. And then look at Qatar. Look at Qatar. Qatar. The nation with the Q at the front of it. Long. It's better be Qatar. I'm gonna get canceled. This isn't Qatar. Just kidding. No one cares. It's fine. It's the flag of Middle Eastern country. Probably Qatar. There's a 3% chance it's Bahrain. Can you really cancel me if I know that Bahrain even exists as an independent nation? Okay, I know things. Just because I mispronounce things and get flags wrong sometimes, damn it. I don't know what flag this is. I believe this is of an African nation of some variety. I don't know what this flag is either. I'm 90% sure this is Indonesia, but it could be Poland, and I'd have no way of knowing. Just one simple change, and this becomes either Poland or Indonesia. Flag fun facts. When you're in Indonesia, flag-wise, you're never far away from Poland. Same thing with, oh damn, is this Ireland or is this the Ivory Coast? I was gonna say, same thing with Ireland and the Ivory Coast. You're never far away. You're never far away. I don't know which way these flags are supposed to be turned. Anyway, point is, ratios. I get sidetracked so easily. I gotta decide what length of flag I want to do for my thing. One thing that I know is I have a color scheme in mind. But that's for later. I've decided. So there are two things to keep in mind. Or that I'm keeping in mind as I'm designing this right now. One... Yeah, we're gonna make it a long flag. The history of the nation that I'm designing this flag for, there's periods of imperial subjugation of the ethnic minority, and It's not really linked to Europe in any way. Or, when I say not linked to Europe in any way, we're trying to do something unique and original and different. And the result of that is there's no need to, yeah, there's no need to, tie ourselves to conventions. And that's why we're getting fancy with it. So here's the symbol. Not quite sure what to do with this space, but I know that we want to make it negative and separate from this one in this kind of curved way. And these are going to be Venetian style. Tassels. If you don't know about the Venetian flag, you should look it up. It's very pretty. One of the things it has is it has these free-flowing tassels on its converse, the front side. Flag people have a specific name for yeah, flag people have a specific name for the sides of the flag. I believe that the front side, this side that is away from the pole, is called the Dexter side, whereas this side is called the Sinister side. It's way cooler than it is. It's fucking nerd shit. But, still not quite sure what I want to do with this space. I think I want to do something a little simple with bars here of color. Because there's a marriage between the ornate and the functional, the rustic and the modern. And what I don't want to do, an easy thing to do that I don't want to do, is what I'm going to lovingly refer to as Malaysia-ing, where I just kind of make it look American. I shouldn't put Malaysia on blast like that. I'm sorry, Malaysia. I do apologize. Because if you haven't seen the flag of Malaysia... Ba-bam. Flag of Malaysia. Ignore the brown stripe at the bottom. That's artifacting. Yeah, no, they... You know, it's very similar to what we have in the U.S. And it's like, is that intentional? I don't know. It was designed in 1949, so they would have had plenty of time to culturally appreciate the United States. Maybe be like, we like that flag. And the United States flag, some people don't like the United States flag from just a design perspective. I think it's nice. I think it's nice. Not gonna like rave about it. Not gonna write home about it. It's like best flag ever, bro. But it's nice, you know. Right. This is what I'm going to leave it for now. I might come back and fill in this space with something more ornate, but I right now lack imagery to draw from with the Tamir. And with the Ionians, too, the non-Tamiri Ionians. They need a little bit of rep on this flag. Right now they have... There's like kind of an implicit give and take, right, with the two main groups of the society that I'm inventing from whole cloth. There's the Tamiri and the kind of like Ionian scientists, whatever, that helped found it. And so it's like... The idea is that a symbol of the Ionian Union is going to have equal parts Tamir and... Sweet Jesus. Equal parts Tamir and Ionian imagery, or at least roughly equal parts. So like with the national symbol... with the national symbol, you have the sun with its spots representing the Ionian. I should keep saying Ionian. I need a better word for them. This will make sense later. The people of the Cairn have this symbol, this part, you know, the sun with its sunspots. And then the Tamiri writing being the Tamiri part of it. And then with the flag, you've got, you know, Tamiri writing over here. And then this would make sense as a more simplified, modern part of the flag to represent the people of the Cairn. Which I swear that name will make sense. And I'm not saying Karen, I'm saying Karen? That word. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong, but it's like when you're hiking and you see a pile of rocks on top of other rocks, and you're like, yo, bro, there... I'm not going to write it out. There were people here. Because rocks don't do that on their own. There's only one type of creature on Earth that does that. And it's the kind you don't want to meet in the woods. Fucking bears are preferable, I'm not kidding. People think, oh, that Twitter meme was stupid. Nah, they're right. Bears, you know how a bear's gonna react to bear spray. You don't know how a person's gonna react, okay? Okay, bears are large and dangerous, but they're predictable, okay? You know what you're gonna get with a bear. You don't know what you're gonna get with a guy. A guy shows up, it's like, oh, okay, what's your deal? I don't know, and I have no way of finding out. Uh-oh. A bear can't trick you, you know? Like, this fucking... The discourse was so inane, man. Just, like, people are bad at representing themselves online, but, like, yeah, no, it was a simple... It's pretty simple to understand. A person can trick you, a bear cannot trick you. A person can do things to you that when you get back to civilization, people aren't going to believe you. A bear cannot. You walk into town, you say, a bear ripped my face off. Everybody's gonna be like, oh shit, how did you... Damn, I'm glad you were able to get out of there. Bear ripped your fucking face off, yeah. Human? There are things that a human can do to you very easily in the woods that you get back to civilization and you're gonna have trouble getting people to believe you. Anyway, that's the darkness, death, doom, nightmare fun time corner. Let's get back to designing a friggin' military from another world. It's a lot more cheery. Alright. So the last thing we really got to develop is a insignia of different branches of the armed forces. And I do have something very specific in mind for this part. So, with the logos of different military branches, I was just thinking I've decided. So, this symbol, there are militaries that have a symbol for their overall armed forces, that are associated with their overall armed forces. The United States, to the best of my knowledge, does not have an overall symbol. Yeah, we don't have an overall symbol. We have symbols of different branches, which are kind of standardized. They're all inlaid in a circle. Most of them have an eagle. The Space Force sticks out like a sore thumb. No, the Coast Guard also kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Let's be real. That's the Coast Guard, right? Yeah, no, the Coast Guard actually sticks out like a sore thumb more than the Space Force. Air Force. Damn, Air Force looks actually kind of dumb. Navy looks okay. Marines, it's the Marines. Looks okay. They have little clink. Look, hang on. Stun lock again, people, but look at this. Friggin'... Look at these little triangle symbols on the Marine logo. I don't know what those are supposed to represent, but you know what those look like? Hold on. Close, will you? Look at that. Look at that. It's not quite the same, but that's similar, right? Friggin'... Friggin' Klingon Marines, they're in our midst! I mean, it makes sense. The Marines are obsessed with honor and are very stupid, so they fit right in. You're allowed to call the Marines stupid. They call themselves that all the time. I would say if they're mad about it, they could fight me, but they'd win. So I mean, they can. It's not like I could stop them. But they know in their hearts that I'd be correct in calling them stupid. They do that to themselves all the time. Okay, one more thing. We're gonna look at all their dress uniforms. This might be slightly outdated, because the uniform designs are subject to change a lot of the time. I know that the Army's changed theirs recently, the dress uniform. They went with a kind of dress greens, sort of intentionally reminiscent of World War II. We gotta zoom in for this. Alright. So, 99% sure this is Air Force. Or maybe it's Space Force, I don't know. Space Force did come out with a dress logo. It doesn't look like a dress uniform a little while ago. It does not look like this. At least the one that I saw. Obviously Marines. I will say they do have a very nice dress uniform. The white with the very dark color looks good. They better be Marines. I'm gonna feel like an idiot if those are not Marines. Guess which one of these is the Navy? Can't tell who these guys are just from looking. And same with these guys. One of these is the Air Force and the other one's the Army, I think. I can't quite tell. I could definitely tell who's the Navy, though. I can spot the Navy. I can pick them out in the crowd. All right, this stun lock no longer serves a purpose. What am I doing here? I don't even know if the Space Force is in this image. I'm so far afield. Pardon me. Yeah, and the friggin' caption isn't helping because it lists all 6 branches, but there's only 5 in the image. Yeah, I don't know who... I gotta say my curiosity, hang on. Space... Okay. Yeah, so the, yeah, the Space Force uniform, I think that if the guys on the interim uniform, they don't have a formal uniform yet. They have a prototype. I think. Yeah, and they're going like full... Look at this thing. This guy's heavily pixelated, but this is what the prototype looks like. This is like a general in the Space Force. Heavily pixelated, but you could, they're going full, like... Maybe this one looks better. Okay, there we go. There's a higher res image. Yeah, they're going full, like, they're having it all the way over and, like, down with this kind of, like, upturned collar. It kind of gives, it gives, like, serious, like, Starship Troopers vibes. Which, if you know anything about Starship Troopers, you don't really want to go for. People have criticized this prototype. I think it looks okay, but, it's not what I would go for, you know what I mean? It also is giving, the positives is that you could also argue that it's giving, Star Trek Red Tunic era uniforms, so the ones from the movies with Kirk and co. The Wrath of Khan onwards, those red tunics. You could argue that it's giving those as well, especially with the lack of belt, but this symbol down here kind of evocative of a belt. Again, not the worst, but not the worst. But I would argue that they're going a little bit too far afield, and you don't want to give Starship Troopers. You should have to go full hog with Star Trek and maybe add some TOS. No, the Next Generation shoulder accents, because they were really big on the shoulder accents in the Next Generation. But this is really worth my time, this stun lock. I'm actually trying to be productive with this time. I need to stop doing these stun locks. Alright. Where the hell was I? There's no overall insignia for the United States Armed Forces. I got so sidetracked because I was going to show off so our armed forces don't have an overall insignia. But other nations, like for instance Ukraine, have an overall insignia. That's what it looks like. Am I gonna make it big? I'm gonna make it big for like a second, just so you can look at it. Bam! Bada bing, bada boom. That's the Armed Forces of Ukraine symbol. And that's like for their whole army, no matter the branch. And the question is, do I want to do individual insignia, or do I want to do overall for the Armed Forces? Which I don't want to be purely military. I want this to be civilian as well. But this is like the national symbol. And I'm answering my own question. I want to do branches. Just branches. And like I said, I do have an idea of what I want kind of the standard thing to be. And then for different branches would have inlays. What is this? Wolf's Tooth. And I want to have writing along the outside a kind of standardized slogan. For all the branches. I don't want to have to come up with different ones for different branches. By means of force. If and I gotta respace that out. It is hard to do an inlay like that and get it right the first time. With the Tamiri writing, I can really stretch this out, actually. I'm really struggling. Struggling here, folks. There's a school bus outside of my window. That doesn't happen. Why is it here? I shouldn't be surprised. There are a lot of children on my block, but I've never seen a school bus before. Huh. Maybe somebody is going to a new school that has a yellow school. Yeah, we don't have yellow school buses in Philly yet. Shit. Also, I've given away where I live. Yeah, but no, like, you don't see yellow school buses around here for the most part. Like, for the private schools, but the school district doesn't have them. You walk or you take SEPTA, basically. At least for high school. I think with the lower grades, like, the elementary schools are close enough that, like, everybody walks. I don't know, I didn't go to, That's actually a lie. I had a yellow bus when I went to middle school. I didn't take it because I lived in walking distance. But that was up at the border of the city. Like, I'm enraptured by this school bus. Look at everything. By the way, for apparently some Europeans don't know, the yellow school buses are real. That's not just a thing in the movies. If you're, I don't know, European and watching this, and you see a yellow school bus in a movie, guys fucking watch. Yeah, no, the yellow school buses are real. We didn't make them up. They're real. It's apparently a thing. Like, Europeans will come over and they'll see, like, red Solo cups and be like, oh my god, the red Solo cups are real. And it's like, fuck yeah, jackass. What do you think we do? We break out the fine china every time there's fucking drunken teenagers over? Jesus. And they're like, oh, buses are real. Yes, we have no transportation infrastructure. The students are, like, fucking bound to be chaperoned by an adult at all times. It's horrible, actually. But yeah, we have the yellow school buses. All right. So, I'm making the branches up as we go here. We got the Navy, or more accurately, the Coast Guard, because the Ionian Union does not have a deep water navy. The idea is that these are different land features you find within the Ionian Union. So there's the infantry. The Air Force is going to go hard, I've decided. Something like this. Doing a bloom like this, you gotta be careful to keep the Air Force. Why is it like this? Because there is nothing more fucking badass and scary than a fighter plane bombing out of the sun in order to obscure its approach. The idea is that a plane coming at an opponent plane. This is like a dogfighting move from the dogfighting days, because we don't dogfight anymore, folks. Some people are like, oh my god, you should still dogfight. Gun beats the missile. And it's like, no. Missiles have over-the-horizon systems. They have since they have for the past 40 years. We have exited the era of the dogfight. We did we did that like a century ago at this point, basically. DCS is still fun, but you know, a gun kill in a modern air combat is if it happens, then something went wrong somewhere. Okay, something went wrong somewhere. I guess there were a couple of dogfights in Vietnam, but again, that was half a century ago, and it's mostly missiles. By the time you get to the Iran-Iraq War, which is only a couple of years after Vietnam, the dogfight is essentially dead. I will admit, I'm stealing that opinion from Laserpig. However, I can do that because it's correct. But anyway, yeah, dogfighting move, another stun lock. Dogfighting move, you dive on your opponent with the sun behind you, and so your opponent with his eyes basically can't see you. This is depicted very compellingly in Nazca: The Valley of the Wind, which is a wonderful movie that all of you should watch. I was thinking, so the last branch is the most important. And that would be the articulated vehicle core. The idea is that the Ionian Union technically calls mechs. They call them articulated vehicles. That's the dry technical term, or AVs. And so, how do you represent that in an insignia in a compelling way? You could just like draw a gear. You could just draw a you could just draw a gear. You could just draw a some piece of machinery. That would be the most obvious thing. But you know what would be badass? Drawing one of these bad boys. This is a alien. This is a Heron's engine. It has a fucking fancy Greek name that I can't pronounce, but it's also called a Heron's engine, named after a guy. Hero's engine, Heron's engine. I'm gonna call it a Heron's engine. Calling it a Hero's engine adds connotations that I am not fond of. But no, these are like somebody your like brother who watches too much Joe Rogan will tell you that the Greeks invented steam engines. This is what they're talking about. The Heron's engine is a very basic heat reactive steam thingamajig. Basically, you have this little water tank on a pivot. It's got jets coming out the side of it like this. You pump air into it. No, you don't pump air into it. You heat it. And you heat it, the water turns to steam, the steam vents out of the nozzles, the very small nozzles. That creates thrust, spins the engine. People will be like, oh my god, if the Greeks had only developed this, they could have developed like steam engines and we could have had like fucking solar punk classical future. It's like, no, not really actually. This thing had like no horsepower. If you'd hooked this up to anything that had any kind of resistance, the power would have been nil. You need to get so much more steam going to like get any actual like industrial work done. And yeah, the amount of coal you would have had to burn, that's the other thing. Like they had plenty of coal to burn for like light and stuff, but burning coal as fuel for like a steam engine, forget it, man. Forget it, man. Like actually forget it. I want to find other examples of these to maybe pull from. Calling it a hero engine gets you some fun results. Okay, so what we're gonna do, a big cylinder laying on its side with waterproof threading. That's how you put the water in there. Actually, you know, you don't need it. You can just pour it through the little spigots. Put it around the edges. You gotta go for that ancient aesthetic. Not quite. Not quite. It's gotta have a vibe, man. Didn't have the vibe. Didn't have the vibe. This is more the vibe. A little bit of fire going. Try a little bit of the steam on there. There you have it. Your sort of a hero's engine symbol. Although, see, here's the thing. So in terms of, this was an ancient steam engine. It really just was a demonstration piece. They didn't have anything practical they could do with it, especially because, as I said before, like, people will say, oh, why didn't the Greeks invent steam engines? They had this technology they had to figure it out. And it's like, coal costs money. You got to mine it. Iron or bronze that they would have been using cost money, and it's not necessarily bronze. The metals they had available to them in large supply weren't necessarily the best metals to use. Like, if you showed a Greek person a steam engine, they would have been like, yeah, no, this makes perfect sense to me. I understand how every aspect of this machine works, but dear God, this is more iron than I have ever seen in my entire life put together. Like, the material wealth to create the supply chains needed to create a steam engine, a steam train, are beyond what anyone in the ancient world is capable of, including the Romans. They were not capable of building something of that opulence out of those materials, of that size, of that scale, useful out of those materials. So allegedly, if you're Turkish, you claim, in terms of modern steam engines, that the Turks had one of the first, which would have looked like. So you could see very simple pressure vessel, heats, steam comes out. Being caught in these cups is spinning donar. And this is apparently from a work. Excuse me. Apparently this is a replica from a record written in the 1500s, 1546. Excuse me. In the Ottoman Empire. Which the thing is that makes a lot of sense to me. I guess I believe that. I'm actually going to go with a slightly different device in that case, because the thing is with this aliophile, it doesn't do much. And I can think of something original that would also be a vibe. I don't know which one I want to go with, but let me just draw this out. So basically, you can use this aliophile. You can use this Heron's engine setup. I'm calling it an aliophile. It's like an aliopile, something like that. Heron's engine. I should call it a Heron's engine. It could be used as, like, the Turkish setup was actually useful. And so if we're counting this as first steam engine, then yeah, this could be used to spin anything. One thing you'll definitely notice is that it seems like the Heron's engine that the Greeks had was about the size of like a little... It's like a toy, you know? It wasn't really useful for anything else. It's like handheld, whereas this thing is like... This thing is big, okay? Um, yeah, but this one actually does something. And what I'm drawing right now is going to be, some of you might have already figured it out. It's a spinning wheel. The engine is turning a spinning wheel. Woohoo! Again, this is very basic. Crude drawing. Don't know which one we want to go with, but I think this, because the idea, I think this would be better, because it's a little bit more far afield of, like, it's a little bit more, like, that hyper specificity in these symbols that prompts the viewer to ask, why is this here? And then that's what I want. I want people asking, when they see these symbols, I want them to ask themselves, what am I looking at? Why is this way? This looks very specific. This looks like it was designed on purpose. And it was by the Ionians! Ha ha! I trick you! Suspension of disbelief! Ha ha ha! But hopefully, like, I might set up a wiki for this. That would actually be a very good idea that I've had just now. I might do things, but by having this very specific thing, the sort of like I'm just gonna call it an Ottoman engine for now because I don't know a better name for it. An Ottoman engine type setup, turning a spinning wheel. It's very specific, a very specific reference to the Turkish engine is the inspiration, but then we're using it for something different. We're using it for a spinning wheel. Didn't get used for that in real life. What's the history? Is there a history? Yes. This was the beginning of industry in tempura, the world that we're creating, the continent that we're creating. The world has a different name, but don't worry about it. This is the beginning of industry. Ottoman engines, or they would have a different words for them. They called them like steam reactors or something. They're good. They could give you some fancy name for it that ends in a reactor for sure, because just calling something a reactor is fun. It sucks that only nuclear shit gets to use the term reactor. Free the term reactor, man. There's tons of stuff that's a reactor. But anyway, the point is using a reactor to spin a wheel. And this is one of the things that's like friggin'... It sucks that this gets written over in history, because it's like... People wonder what's women's place in history, and the answer is like so much fucking stuff that just doesn't get fucking talked about because we want to like salivate over like fucking elite conqueror number 6. But like, yeah, no, like the history of textiles has been a field that is dominated aesthetically by women. And it's like, the problem is that like they never, like with their dominance as the laborers of the textile industry, they never got any power, they never got any recognition, they never got any influence. But textiles are so important, man. Clothing is so important to like your self-esteem, to like delineating society, to function in society. Pockets, coats, footwear especially, the way that it's designed to like just function in the world, like it's so important. And the history of textiles, for better and for worse,
defines so much of economics in the pre-modern world, but it's not talked about. It's not talked about, you know? It's not. Like, we don't, like, clothes are written off. Clothing is written off by so many people because it's seen as a womanly thing. There are men walking around in, at best, decent workwear, at worst, whatever clothing they had. I'm just starting to like take active account of my wardrobe. I've been wearing clothes that I just had left over from when I was younger for the longest time. Um, yeah, no, the point is that like the first computer used in a industrial setting, in any kind of setting, period, was a punch card loom that could, you could feed it punch cards and it would compute patterns onto fabrics for fabric weaving. Um, it's sort of industrializing. Man, this is one of the great things. If women owned their frickin' labor, man, we wouldn't be having this discussion of what's women's place in society. So much harm has been wrought by the fact that in the pre-modern world, finances were controlled centrally within the family unit rather than by the individual. It made sense. Like, I say it made sense. It made sense for them at the time. Not the best sense, but at least it made some sense. Money was such a less of a part of life in the pre-modern era. Like that's something we don't appreciate. I'm just gonna caterwaul for a few minutes because I can. Uh, yeah, like if you think about it, you go back to the before times. So much more of the population um, had their own means of fabrication for basic household items like food, stuff. Like food, clothing, basic tools. So much more of it could be manufactured locally, just within the community you were a part of, within your village, that money was unnecessary for a lot of day-to-day life. And so a world where women could not own property was just a lot more bearable. It wasn't good. It wasn't good that women couldn't own property, but you could live from birth to death with just enough, dignity and comfort that the question of women owning property was slowly being addressed generation by generation, but very slowly because, it was this crisis issue. And then with industrialization, money became the medium of everything. And it went from, like, if you were a woman, right, in the pre-modern times, it would suck to be without a source of income, which in most cases meant having a man. There were some women who managed to eke out their own living monetarily, but it wasn't great. You did need some money to survive, especially if you lived in a village, lived in a household with your parents. You could have things, you could have, your life could be about stuff without needing a job because you'd have shit to do. You'd have clothes to mend and weave and fucking fields to till, not just food to cook but a fire to stoke. There were so many different things, tasks in your life, that if even one of those was meaningful to you, you could put a little bit of emphasis on it and derive some purpose out of life. And then in the modern era, everything, it used to be that employment for women and for men was only a small part of what made up their life. Employment and commerce and money. Basket weaving, that's another thing. Household manufacturing of goods. Sometimes people would make and manufacture these things for sale, but a lot of times it would just be for your community. And even if you were the fucking basket weaver's wife or whatever, and the family business was selling stuff, and your primary job day in day out was making that thing to be sold, that sucks in so many ways. But so much more of your life had to be taken up by other chores that you had a reprieve from it. In the modern era, so much is handled through commerce and jobs and stuff that if you don't have a job that is meaningful, then that means that, like, most of your life is taken up by something you hate. And that's not how the way it always was. It used to be that work was, like, divided amongst different things, right? I'm dancing around the subject because I just refuse to explain it basically, but, like, if you wonder why, if you've ever wondered why, like, why didn't they have feminism in the medieval period or whatever the fuck, why is it only happening now? The answer is that they kind of did have feminism. The answer is that there were, like, social trends that tried, where women tried to, in any case that they could, eke out a better existence for themselves, considering the shit card they were dealt by society. But because because employment wasn't everything, because property ownership wasn't everything, and was actually, like, dealing in money was actually seen as dirty by a lot of people. A low thing to do, a not a very good life. Because of that, it's a weird thing to have on screen. The by means of force if necessary is giving vibes. It's a sigil of an armed group, but whatever. Wrapping up here because I'm like 10 minutes over when I need to go. In the industrial era, the idea of a man being hired out and working for someone else, which in the pre-modern era was like an aberration. It wasn't what most people did for most of their time. In the modern era, suddenly became the norm. And not only did the primary activity of a household shift to the men, but employment took all of the other tasks that a woman might do out of the household. Like, automation is a big part of that. In the it's funny because, like, in the 50s there was this idea that it was kind of true. Basically, like, the only things that were left for women were cooking and cleaning. There was no more home fabrication. There was no more application of medicine was a big one. That was mostly taken out of the home and put into the doctor's office, which, for better and for worse, that was a good thing. But the problem was that women who got meaning from doing that kind of work no longer had it in their lives. Fabricate, like, I keep going back to fabrication, but that's such a big one. Like, fucking crafts and making things is such a fulfilling experience if you've ever done it. There's a reason why I do this as, like, not my job. I don't get paid to do any of this freaking YouTube shit, but I'm making stuff and I love making media. Making things, man, it's such a fucking vibe. And it was taken out of the woman's world, fundamentally, in modernity, and put into the factory. Other things, other stuff, like, so much of it falls under fabrication. I'm struggling to find other examples, but basically, a woman's life became cooking food, cleaning, and fabricating and purchasing goods and services with the husband's money. And the amount of people who can find true meaning in those activities and those activities alone is so fucking small and minute, and those people are kind of horrible. No wonder women were like, hey, this sucks. We want to join the workforce where all the other stuff is happening, where all the other things that our grandmothers used to spend some of their time doing are happening. It used to be that my grandmother would mend clothes and weave baskets and shit. And all of that has been taken out of the home. So we want to go do that. Do things like we used to. This was not the explicit narrative of first wave or second wave feminism, but it is very much like what was happening implicitly, in my opinion. Now, the problem is that the workforce fucking sucks ass, and there's so much things that are wrong with modern employment that when women got there, they found unhappiness. They found the same unhappiness that men find when they get jobs, but men are conditioned to not complain, and you wonder why our suicide rates are so high. This video is getting monetized. I'm not eligible for monetization. Anyway, the point is that, like, this is something that I've thought about a lot, and now it's a rant on YouTube. There are reasons why modern feminism exists, and a world that has women in the workforce is a more stable one. If you put them in the modern household, they're going to go stir crazy, which they did in the 50s. There's a reason why so many of them were on pills and drinking shitloads of alcohol. Seriously, like, people like to pretend that, like, the fucking 50s was this idyllic fucking everything's great time, but never fucking true. Never fucking true. If you see a scene of the idyllic 50s, it is propaganda or advertisements 100% of the time. The reality was Zoloft, Jello, and a lot of liquor. A lot of liquor, okay? Seriously, read The Feminine Mystique. It's fucking crazy. But the point is, women in the workplace is, like, still a debate that really fucking stupid people have because they haven't got the memo that, like, they kind of need to be, because that's where the workplace is, where everything fucking happens now. But yeah, there's still this, like, cultural, like, fucking grifters and crazy people are like, yeah, women in the workplace, and the workplace sucks, so won't you like to be back at the house? And the answer is no, you need to improve the workplace. Like, problems that women are having and complaining about in the workplace are problems with the workplace that men just refuse to complain about. Yeah, I've broken back down into the culture war arguments. We went from high theory, analyzing history, down to the culture war arguments. We're done here. Man, I really don't want to make my channel political, but my brain keeps going where it goes. The point is, okay, we've done some work. We've done some productivity. Look at this. We have this we made yesterday. We planned out this today. We planned out this in all of its subsections. Air Force, Infantry, Coast Guard, AV Corps. All right, I gotta go. I gotta get ready to go. But I was thinking, excuse me, I was thinking it might be fun to make logistics its own branch. I'm gonna do that. Some armies do have logistics as a separate branch. Like, I think Russia has. Service branches. Could they not? I remember hearing somewhere that Russia has logistics as its own service branch. I know that they do have the Russians. I know for a fact that the Russians' civilian forces handle a lot of their logistics, and it's a problem. It's one of the reasons why they're so shit, because there's a lot of reasons why the Russian military is shit. Oh, never mind. They do have it as its own branch, kind of. It's not really a branch, so much as an other. But yeah, it's its own group. I'm taking, like, random grab bags and stuff I find cool, and I think that logistics, especially because, like, something you see in a lot of mecha anime is that the background of the mechs is that they were originally... I said anime, weird. Anime. Mecha anime. is that the background of the mechs is that they were originally civilian, originally developed for civilian uses before being modified for military use. Like Pat Labor is the only example I could think of, but this is so poorly made. I'm just gonna there, we did it. The idea is that the symbol for the logistics branch of the armed forces is a sled, a sled carrying goods that would be lashed to the back of like a donkey or a horse or a deer. The idea being that the Tamir didn't develop wheels. This is supposed to be like a traditional Tamiri sled that they would kind of like drag across the ground with minimal contact on the surface, so it would have actually been a pretty efficient means of like transporting goods. But yeah, no, you have societies that don't develop the wheel, and they need to be need to be like not fucking made fun of for it. Honestly, they're chilling, they're hanging, they're doing their thing. Like, what are you gonna do? Fucking be a bitch? Jeez. Damn, am I even live on Twitch? My stream manager was messed up. Anyway. Alrighty then. Yeah, no jump-ins this time. How it goes. Although my channel like definitely has gone back down to like inter-video levels. I mean, I haven't uploaded a short in like 2 weeks, so that makes sense. I do plan on getting one up this week though, on Thursday. We'll see. And I'm gonna be doing game streaming tonight, so tune in, I guess. I gotta properly schedule that because I haven't been for the past 2 days, for the past couple of game streams, and you can tell it's affected the performance. But anyway, yeah, no, I was got some stuff done, got some planning done. Eventually, I will have to just what's the word? Do like the good lines for these, fabricate them into really symbols. I have a color scheme in mind, and the question is whether or not I want to line in black and do that color scheme. I don't think I do. White and light blue, I think, are going to be the colors. Light blue. Sort of a very kind of, like, the color scheme is supposed to be giving kind of Futura, you know? That's the plan. We shall execute it post-haste. Yeah, I'm probably going to line in the light blue for here and just have, like, positive, negative. Very simple two-tone. Shows up well in the mechs. All right. We're doing it. We're signing off. Have a good day to whoever's watching. Or good afternoon if you're watching after the noon. Oh, I gotta do the thing. I gotta do the thing I do every stream even though nobody watches. Bam. Outro. Cool tagline. Yeah, alright.